So good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to have you all here. Obviously, I would imagine most of you on this call are already familiar with the guide, some of you perhaps less so. And a lot of you here, I know from the names that I see in the room, have played a real fundamental part in getting it going. And it's really important and really exciting for us because the guide is really going to be at the centre of our pathway and our strategy going forward in the next, years to come, let's say. So just a little agenda of what we're going to run through today, and I'll introduce myself as well quickly for those of you who don't yet know me. So I'm Charlotte Horder. I joined SPP, the central team, the global office team, back in August, and I am the internal stakeholder engagement director. So I deal with all things, I've got my hashtags here, community building, engagement and communications. That means I want to be making sure that you are getting the most out of SPP as a network. So my details are there. Do get in contact, and that would be really nice to hear from you. So today we're going to run through, for those of you who aren't so familiar with the guide, what it is, what its purpose is, why it's going out into the world, how you can get involved if you've not been involved already or if you've lightly been involved. And we'll take a look at the website and talk a little bit about what's next in our eyes as a central team and as SPP. And then we're going to go through a few Q&As that have been collected already over the last few weeks since we launched. And then it's opening the floor to you with your feedback and questions. So if that sounds good, we'll dive straight in. And I know that a few of you here are, as I said, have really been central to the setup. So here, if you want to add in anything, feel free. But why is there a guide? So SPP as a network and as a concept, if you like, is all about the belief that as a profession, procurement has a huge lever in terms of impacting supply chains, and that's a huge spend that happens year on year. And we know as a profession that we need quick, fast, practical ways of getting up to speed with more sustainable practices, and it needs to be really pragmatic. So we know that 2030 is just around the corner. We don't have long, and if we as companies and individuals try to kind of do that learning in our own little hubs and silos, we're probably not going to get there. So SPP is all about coming together, creating speed, creating movement and learning from one another. And that is exactly what the guide is trying to do. So it's open source and it offers learning for all, and it takes your learnings and puts them out into the world. So as I said, it's easy, it's a practical guide, and we look at, and I think this is an area that will be interesting to build upon going forward, we look at those ugly truths, so that the challenges that are faced by not just one company here or there, but all of us, really. And we try to choose or find ways that they've been addressed well and find those successes. And those successes then are shown in case studies. So it brings it really down to earth and helps you understand, okay, how has company XYZ gone about solving this challenge? And who is it for? Well, it's for all of us and everyone. And this is where, this is a term that you'll hear me saying a lot, courageous collaboration. We need to come together and learn from one another. And I think that is the beauty of SPP. Everybody that I have spoken to since joining in August has said the same. The benefit is in the fact that we talk to one another, we share our learnings, we share what actually doesn't work particularly well. So basically, if you have found over the past years and months that you have had learning experiences that have helped you, most probably they will benefit other people as well. So it's for everybody to get involved. And anybody jump in if you want to fill in any of the gaps. Go on to the next thing. All right, so how can you get involved? Now, I know, as seeing the names that have joined the room already, we've got probably a broad selection of people who have been there from the beginning and helped set this up and breathe life into it. And we have some people who perhaps haven't even read the guide yet. So I'm covering all bases here. So 4 steps, very simple, how you can get engaged with the guide. First of all, quite obvious, have a read of it, and you can do that on our website. I'll show that to you in a second. Then number 2 is really, we encourage you to have discussions. So talk to your colleagues, talk to your suppliers, talk to your network, talk to our chapters. And I know that we've got quite a few chapter co-chairs here, so thank you to you for joining. And basically in those discussions, have a think about what in the guide today as it stands, and it's quite compact, this first version, what is really helpful? What do you feel perhaps is missing? And I think centrally we've already identified a few of those. We might touch on a couple of ideas of where we want to develop the guide afterwards, but that's what we want you to get your thinking hats on about. And then step 3, tell us. So the guide is only as strong as the input that we get and can then implement to expand and grow the guide. So we've set up a little form. This presentation, I think I'll make this available or send it around, and I'll share the form links afterwards. It's a very, very short form where you can just tell us what do you particularly like, what would you like to see more of, and help us kind of develop it on its way. And the final step is, and we're very excited about this in the next few months, is send us a case study. So tell us what your learning experiences are, and not just us, but tell the world, because we'll be collecting different case study suggestions over the next few months, and we will go on to update and expand this guide over the months to come. In the long run, the guide is actually going to feed into what is one of SPP's main ambitions, and that is to create an online knowledge hub. So what we're seeing today, essentially in PDF format as the guide, will develop into a more dynamic, more intelligent knowledge hub going forward. And we also here have a form link for when you want to submit case studies. So let's have a little look at the website now. I'm just going to come out of my presentation and jump in here. So when you go to our website, we've got a very simple URL. It's SPP Earth. You will find a tab especially for the guide. And in here, you have the option to download it completely, save it centrally, share it with people, or read it on the screen. So it's very comprehensive. You have a search function as well. I'll scroll through super quickly so you get an impression for those of you who aren't familiar with it. So it's built up in 3 sections. Looking at what we call the ugly truths, the challenges that we're all facing in procurement. Then we look at the key success factors. So what needs to be in place to make sure implementing sustainability initiatives really works. And then it's the case studies. So I'll just scroll through very briefly and show you the different sections. We've got an overview of how to use the guide, which is quite helpful as a prompt. And then we dive in here to the ugly truths. And the structure is always the same. So what's the issue? Why does it have an impact? And how do we overcome them, these challenges? Then we jump into the successes. So what from experience has worked particularly well, and what kind of things, when you're building your sustainability strategy as a procurement team, what do you need to be thinking of to really make sure that the good intentions you have actually have the benefit that they intend to? And then we go into the case studies. So here we have just a small selection so far of 8 case studies from a few of our champion companies. So these are companies that have been really, really fundamental in supporting SPP's vision and developing things like this, initiatives like the guide. So we've got a selection of them here. I'll just scroll through. Obviously, you'll have time going forward to have a little read of them. I know some of you here are in the call. Yarrick, good morning. We were having a little chat before. Lovely that you can join.
Yes, good morning.
And then we have a final page. And I think just at this point in today's little session, I would like to say, or not just I, but we from SPP as a whole, a huge, huge thank you to all of you who have been involved at, you know, rolling up your sleeves and turning what was a vision into something that's really tangible, we've been able to put out into the world, and we're really excited about developing. So to all of our champions, even the ones that I know don't yet have case studies in here, you've all played a real fundamental role in giving inputs, feedback, and I know we've got quite a few case studies already hanging in the wings. So to our champions, thank you very, very much. To a lot of the volunteers as well, the SPP volunteers, you have also had amazing or offered amazing support in the background of organising, coordinating all of this. And of course, we're going across the whole globe here, so it's not a small amount of coordination. And to Rosie and Lucy as well, who are from Impact Focus, they pulled this together in a nice visual way. So thank you to you all. Right, I will jump back now to my presentation. Link is here. As I said, you'll find it on the website. Another small thing to note, World Sustainable Procurement Day is just around the corner. I know March feels like it's far off, but we're now diving into the planning and we're pulling together the programme. Now, our champions and our co-chairs have been approached in this first wave of, we're asking you basically to give your suggestions for sessions during World Sustainable Procurement Day, which is a 24-hour, for those of you who don't know it, 24-hour melting pot of all things sustainable procurement, and we have incredible speakers already kind of in the waiting pen, let's say, and we record all of the sessions, they get put on YouTube. So the idea and how this plays into the guide is we would like some of the case studies that already exist in the guide to be presented at World Sustainable Procurement Day, but also for those sessions that aren't yet connected to the guide, but are suggested and taken for World Sustainable Procurement Day, we would like to see them then be transformed into a case study that can be added into the guide going forward. So that's an important link that we just wanted to highlight there. So, question and answers. I want to run very, very quickly through a few of the ones that we've collected so far. And then, as I said, we'll open the floor to your feedback and questions. I've just realised, so this is going to go on the website. We don't have it on the website yet, but it will appear at the bottom of the website that I just showed you. I wanted to check that this morning, but all good. So, what is the guide? We've talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but in a snapshot, it's a a learning resource, and it pulls together all of our collective learnings, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, and is provided then to our community, to our network, to help spearhead and encourage more learning going forward. So it's the ugly truths, those challenges that we're all facing. It's the key success factors, what works well, what needs to be in place to make sure that our initiatives, our sustainability initiatives, actually do what they're meant to do. And then it's the practical, real stories. And I think for the case studies as well, it's a celebration of, you know, teams coming together and then being able to actually go out into the world and say, we've tried this initiative, this is what we've learned from it, and we want to share this with the world. So it's also a bit of a kind of nod of the cap to those who are really brave enough to say, yeah, this is what we did, and these are the learnings, and we want to share them with the wider network. So very cool. Who created it? As mentioned, our champions. So these are companies, and I know a lot of you are present here today, but people within companies that hold procurement positions of different levels as well. So we have CPOs, we have people who hold kind of sustainable procurement roles, and other really kind of more operative roles as well within procurement that make up this champions program. And it's been this group that has come together to really create this this concept and bring it to life. So that's been very cool. Going forward, and I know some of our chapters have been involved already, but we want more chapters, and I know a lot of you are also present today, to really pick up the guide and see what you want to do with it. And I think from a few discussions we've had, there's real potential here, for example, to touch on some groups that are not yet represented. So, for example, small to medium enterprises. I think that would be really nice, or we, in the feedback that we've received already, would be really keen to get a lens from smaller companies as well as bigger companies. And going forward, it's going to be everybody. It's going to be anybody who is interested in supporting SPP and our vision of bringing 1 million procurement professionals together to learn from one another. So everybody's invited to give their input. Who can contribute? I'm getting ahead of myself now. It's exactly what I said. So the guide belongs to us all. And as I said before, if you feel that you in the past months and years have had a learning experience that has really helped you, then most probably it's going to help other people out there in the world. And that's why we would love to have it as part of our guide and the Knowledge Hub going forward. It will evolve. Yeah, I mean, it's going to evolve in adding more perspectives, more key success factors, highlighting more ugly truths, showing more case studies, but also in the long run, as I mentioned, the vision is that this guide is going to flow into what will become this online tool platform, learning platform, and we want to have much more content on there. So also really practical tools, guidelines, checklists, helpful processes to really support people in the day-to-day. Okay, what do I need to do step by step to make sure that I have the best RFP that kind of captures all of the different social, environmental, sustainability criteria that I need to be considering for my specific company and what we're involved in doing. So if you're ready to add a case study, then you can do so by going on to our website, and I will show that again at the end. How do I use it as a learning tool? I showed the 4 steps of how to get active. So that's our suggestion. Read it, chat about it with your colleagues and your friends and your network, give us feedback, and when you're ready, send us your case studies. And don't be shy in doing so. We've had actually a few questions about, okay, the guide is, as it stands, already really, really helpful, and I would like to build this into, and this comes from some larger companies, I know this won't apply to smaller companies, but how can I integrate it into my company's learning platform? We are really, really keen to support you doing this. The one caveat, or one thing that we need to just make everybody aware of is, of course, the beauty of the guide is that it's going to continue to grow and continue to be added to going forward. So when we're adding it to your company's learning platform, we want to make sure that you're always going to be having, you and your teams are always going to be having access to the most recent version. So the ambassador at SPP Earth email is how you can get in contact with us, and I know a lot of you in this call already have our direct contacts, so you can also reach out to us in that way. And kind of bringing it back to the basics, if you don't have a learning platform, you are still incredibly welcome to download it, share it with your network, share it on LinkedIn, share it via email to colleagues, however you wish. The next expansion is planned in time for WSPD, so March next year. What we've mentioned here is it is what the community gives, right? It is, the guide is what you offer us to expand upon. So we really hope and depend on our SPP network being quite active and offering up some more input for the guide. But yeah, the plan would be March next year. There are other ways to support the guide and the development of it, and we have some really, really wonderful volunteers. Paula, I know you're here today. In the back, in kind of behind the scenes, we do need help, of course, reviewing the case studies that are sent, and just helping kind of with the organizational logistics of pulling this together. So if you are interested in playing that type of role in the development of the guide, do reach out to us. We've got the recruitment at SPP Earth email there, and we would love to hear from you. We are essentially a volunteer-led community and organisation, so all help is incredibly appreciated and welcome. And the final question is, for now, and then it's over to you, are there materials or events available to give more guidance on how to engage with the guide? So this session today is planned to be the first of a few to come in over 2024. The website is going to be the place for you to go to see when is the next event happening, are there additional tools, leading questions for if you're having discussions, things like that. So do make sure you visit the webpage on a regular basis. And then I just wanted to show this slide. So this is a feedback form, and this is our huge call to this group. We want to hear from you. So this is going to be sent around, and it's also going to be put on the website. When you go onto the website and scroll down to the bottom, you will see the different links. So giving your feedback via this form and also filling in a case study suggestion. And that's it. I think, again, a huge thanks to all of you who have been really fundamental in the setup of the guide so far. It is the community, it's community sourced knowledge, it's your knowledge, and we are just incredibly grateful for the fact that so many people are excited about this and willing to kind of put their learnings out into the world. If you are not yet linked with us on LinkedIn, we have our Sustainable Procurement Ambassadors group, so do definitely make sure you go on there, and you'll hear all about what's the latest on the guide, and also our different events that will be touching upon this and all other things sustainable procurement. So yeah, I'm going to stop the recording now, and I will open the floor up to your questions.